Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Another Wednesday, another live stream. Give everyone a sec to jump in here and we'll get started soon. Angel, thank you for joining. Our bodies themselves, thank you for joining. We'll get Dave and Rosie in here in a second. Let's see here. I'll send them an invite. Especially since you're on tonight. Got a little bit of a headache because I didn't drink my coffee today. I see a snowman.
Pay no attention to that.
Is that the secret? Who's the secret guest for COC this year? Good evening. How are you two doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'll read just let a couple more people jump in here, and then I'll read something off the top, and we'll get started. Okay. All right, here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Bellwether Ritual live stream, where we discuss music, the local Lehigh Valley, PA scene, bands, social media, and more. Today is Wednesday, July 26th already. Hard to believe. My name is Mike, and I'm the vocalist and guitarist of Bellwether Ritual. I hope you had a good week. Today is the fourth stream in the lead up to our next gig, which is the Carnival of Chaos 3, August 12th in Schnecksville, presented by Chaos Guitars. And who better to tell us about COC3 than the people who put it together? Tonight, we have Dave and Rosie of Chaos Guitars. They specialize in the repair, maintenance, and modification of stringed instruments, as well as some custom ones too. They were nice enough to invite us into their shop, and we got to play a whole bunch of their stuff, and it was a great time. So thank you so much for that. They are also the founders of Carnival of Chaos, which is an all-day festival highlighting unsigned original bands and artists, along with other small businesses. Dave also plays in Hate Machine, a metal band from the Lehigh Valley and also Texas. We'll talk about all that and more. Rosie and Dave, how you doing? Welcome to the stream.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hanging in there. It's a Wednesday, getting through it. Just got back from vacation, so still have some energy to do all this good stuff. So thank you for being here with me. Anything you want to plug right off the top? That's usually what I ask people. I know there's something coming up.
Yeah.
Where's that?
It's in Schnecksville.
When is that?
August 12th.
How much is it?
$10.
Yeah.
8 bands and 2 acoustic artists.
No way.
I kid you not.
Vendors?
Oh, lots of vendors.
Food trucks?
Food trucks.
I'm all about the food.
I'm looking forward to getting my face painted personally. All right, great. Anything else that you want to put out there? Yeah, people can check out or want to listen. I know Hate Machine's on YouTube. Are you guys on Spotify?
No.
Not yet?
No, that whole thing started because we wanted to re-record our old stuff, and it just kind of went from there. We never got to the recording part, so.
I know all about that. All right, so what I usually start off with off the top is asking, are you originally from the area, or did you move in? Obviously I know, but for our viewership, just gonna give them some background on yourselves.
Yeah, we're pretty much originally from here. I was born in Jersey, but moved here so young that I've pretty much been here all my life for the most part, with the exception of a couple of years that we lived in Texas. And Rosie's...
I am born and bred. I was born in Allentown and have stayed in the Lehigh Valley my entire life. So about as native as you can get.
Very cool, yeah. And what were the things, like, was there like a band or a family member or something that got you into music that you can remember?
The 80s.
Yeah.
That's what did it.
I don't ever remember a time not being into music.
Yeah.
As
same.
far back as I can remember, it was always about music. It's my life revolved around that for some reason. started with Kiss and AC/DC and progressed from there.
Were there people, like, was there music playing? Like, did you have instruments lying around when you're growing up? Were there radio on all the time?
I not so much. When I was about, I don't know, when I was a little kid, I wanted to play guitar, so I started taking guitar lessons on an acoustic guitar, and then I got like 4 lessons into Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I basically said, screw this nonsense, and I quit because I didn't want to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. I wanted to play the Scorpions.
Right.
So I just quit, and then it was, I don't know, maybe a year later, I got an electric guitar, and I just started teaching myself, and I never went back for lessons again.
Really? So, like, how are you doing that? Because I was completely lost. I also started on a $5 acoustic guitar that my mom bought at a yard sale or something like that. You just going by ear, or
Yeah.
how's that happening?
Yeah, I was very fortunate when I was, well, before my whole medical thing, I had a really good ear for it. I just picked it up. When I was in high school, all I took was music classes. So I had all the theory in the world, and I could read music, and I played piano and all that. And it didn't make a damn difference because none of my friends could do any of that. So I couldn't use any of it in any practical way. So I just kind of forgot all about that stuff, and everything I did, I've always done by ear until I had, some issues later in life, and I don't have any of that anymore. So I don't really, I still have a good ear for music, but as far as picking stuff up and things like that, that's kind of all gone now.
Yeah, I want to get into that too. Ben Cologne 71, thank you for joining. He says hello.
Hey, Ben.
Do you want to go right into that, or do you want to start somewhere else?
That doesn't matter. Whatever.
Okay.
I'm easy.
Yeah. All right, cool. So one of the interesting things we were talking about that you have brought up is that you are still technically in, well, I would say your first kind of like main band since like high school.
Yeah. I was never the guy that played in multiple bands and played in other people's bands. Music for me was never, I want to play covers or I want to play somebody else's music. Music for me was always a way to get what was in here out, and to get, when I was much younger, I had a lot of anger issues, and I had very hard time processing and telling people what was going on, and the only way for me to do it was music. So my intent on playing music was always because that was the only way to get all this frustration that was in here out. It was the only way I knew how to do that, and other than fighting and things like that. And it was a more productive and less legally, it was a more legal way to do that. So that was my whole purpose in music. It wasn't because I wanted to be a rock star, or it wasn't because I needed to play music. It was because I needed an outlet. So that's kind of how it started. But I never wanted to be in other people's bands. I just wanted to start my own thing and do my own thing. And I was very fortunate in high school that my drummer was my stepbrother and still is. And he is probably the most wonderful person in the world because he is the opposite of me. He has more patience than anybody. And he's the guy that when I'm, and I say this jokingly, but it's true, when I'm chasing an ex-guitar player down the road with a steak knife because I'm ready to kill him, he's the guy that's stopping me and saying, you can't do this. So him and I worked very well together. And our bass player at the time was our best friend. So it worked out perfectly. It's just always, I've been very lucky to be able to work with people who see what I'm doing and let me do my thing and not try to say, well, yeah, I want to do it this way instead, because I'm not an easy person to work with when it comes to music.
Can you,
the chasing thing happened in Texas, not in Pennsylvania. Very long time ago.
Gotcha. Maybe one.
We had this discussion. Don't say those things.
Josh Burke, thank you for joining. So really quickly to speak to that point, I'm always kind of fascinated by like how people go about finding each other when they're putting bands together, or like you said, you kind of wanted to, you had this vision and you like to take the lead on that kind of thing. Yeah, can you just talk a little bit about maybe like that and how that goes into the songwriting process and that sort of thing?
The songwriting process for me was always, with the exception of a very small handful of songs, everything that we write is from a life experience for me. So everything, and that's I'm very, and I think we talked about this when you guys were here, that I am very much into the words. That's why, like, we play thrash metal, and I know everybody says thrash metal words don't matter, and there were bands like Anthrax and things like that that could do these crazy songs with lyrics that were stupid and whatnot, and they got away with it. But to me, that was never something I liked. So to me, it was the words mattered. You had to sing clearly enough that you could hear the words, even though most people aren't caring. But so it was always, to me, I was always more of a lyricist than anything else, because that's how all this in here was getting out. When I felt treated unfairly, or when I felt like somebody was doing something to me they shouldn't, it was a way for me to get that out. So that's what was important.
Yeah, I think one of the things that still resonates when you say that kind of stuff is when you ask that you ask the COC group like to submit what music means to them. Like that was one of the first things I went to. Is like, it allows me to express what I need to express or want to express, where either like you're either too afraid to or too societally bound by weird things or something like that. And like, if you can understand what we're putting out, you can have a better understanding of the people behind it too, which is just, yeah, vital, I think. Like you said, kind of saved your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And that question that we asked it's important. I mean, it's a question that there's no bad answer to, which I find fascinating, because I've gotten a handful of them back, and every time I read one, I say, "Oh, that's the perfect answer. This is the answer." Because Rosie and I are looking at a future endeavor for business, and I keep saying, "This is the answer we're using." And then I read the next one, and I'm like, "Oh no, this is the one. This is perfect." And they're all perfect answers. There's no one answer that's better than the others. They're all wonderful answers. Mm-hmm. So it's just, and if for the COC bands, if you haven't gotten me an answer yet, I'd appreciate that answer, because I'm trying to get stuff to the printer by the end of the week.
Hint, hint.
So the Supersonic Godfathers just joined. Shout out to them. Yeah. So if you haven't got your answers in, guys, get them to Dave and Rosie, please. Idle Existence, thank you also for joining. Questions for Dave and Rosie, you can throw them right down in their comments, and we will get to them in a minute. Okay, let's go into how you and Rosie met.
Oh, first time or the second time?
I guess we'll start at the beginning. Everything is best.
Well, okay. So we are both products of Catholic school at some point, and Dave being the year ahead of me. I was in kindergarten and he was in first grade, and we played on the same playground together.
No, don't. Oh, she stole my Hot Wheels.
I did. It wasn't,
That's a serious offense.
Allowed to have the cars. I was supposed to be a girl. I was supposed to have the dolls and, girly stuff. And I wanted to play with Hot Wheels because this tree that was in the middle of the playground area had the best root system. It was the coolest thing. And you could just immerse yourself in this little world and
steal my Hot Wheels. That was
fast forward.
gonna say, do you remember which Hot Wheel it was?
Oh, it was you know the one now that's like $300,000. That's what we're going with.
Perfect.
Don't know for
Perfect.
sure.
Go ahead.
Fast forward to our high school years. I actually met Dave because he was dating one of my best friends. And
then she introduced me to my ex-wife.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's her. She married my ex-wife's brother.
That's who I
Figure that one out.
Yeah. Hey, stuff like
So that made us. That made
brother and
my
sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Yeah.
There's no Jerry Springer stuff going on here.
By marriage.
By marriage only.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation.
They often are things of the heart, right?
Yeah.
It gets a little twisted.
We definitely always maintained a close relationship because when stupid things were going on in that arena,
Yep.
we would lean on each other a little bit more, which pissed them off to no end. And
we were always just really good friends since high school. We used to say, like, I would skip my last class and go pick her up because I had a car. So I was like the guy with the taxi. So I would skip my last class and go pick her up so I could take her home or take her wherever. But it wasn't because we both had girlfriend and boyfriend. So it wasn't anything other than we were just friends. We've always just been really good friends.
But we really enjoyed each other's company, and come to find out later we both liked each other. And
one of us found out later. One of us knew the entire time. But that's a whole nother story.
Somebody could have spoken up.
Whatever. Anyway.
Yes, now all 6 people are now knowing this.
So they probably already know us.
Probably.
Yeah, well, I think those are all great places to start. And, there's many couples I look at and I've grown up around too, just like, oh, no, these two should be together, not these two. And it's just interesting how things shake out after a while. I think
what did friends and family say when we finally started dating? Like, it's about time.
Yeah, I think everybody saw it except for us, really.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard it's a hard situation. Angel says, I'm right there with you, Rosie. Thank you, Angel. And Jackie, I can't read your last name. I'm sorry. I need glasses. Thank you for joining. All right. So where does the idea for Carnival of Chaos come from then? Is that something that's kind of like been brewing for a while, or?
It's kind of, here's my thing is I'm very much about original bands and original music. I'm not a cover guy. I don't have anything against cover bands, but I've always been the guy. I want to hear what you can write. I want to hear how creative you are, and I want to hear new music. Now I understand why people go and listen to cover bands because they want to hear something they already know. But I see, and I have friends, and we do it too. We go see cover bands, but I have friends that will go and see the same cover band 10 times, and I say, if you took 5 of those times and went and saw the same unknown band playing original music, you would now have a new band that you really like that's not a cover band, and you would know their music. So I understand why original bands don't get more popular, and they really need to, because turn on the radio, you're still hearing AC/DC, you're still hearing Led Zeppelin, you're still, nothing wrong with any of those bands, but oh my God, can we hear something new? We did for a while, we heard Alice in Chains and them, but okay, enough of that already now too. I want to hear new stuff. People need to be more creative. We're in a time in our society where you get comfortable and it kills creativity. Comfort is the #1 killer of creativity. You need to get out of your comfort zone and you need to just be more creative. And I want to see people be creative. So that's kind of where this started. I wanted to give bands an opportunity to get with other bands and get on a stage in front of people, and hopefully they're going to promote their own show, but I wanted to give them the opportunity to play at a place where we also help them promote, this is where community came into it, because, and you know, because you play, that the music community is not what it used to be. When I was growing up and playing, community was so strong, and I remember, especially in Texas, we had bands that were taking days off work to come help us gig around, to be our roadies for the night and stuff. And these were other bands that were playing just as much as we were, and they were doing it for free just to help. I mean, the community was so strong, and everybody knew everybody else. And when you had a gig and you had to cancel, you didn't have to tell the owner of the club, "Oh yeah, I'm canceling on you." You went and you called one of your friends, you said, "Hey, can you guys play tonight?" And they were like, "Yeah." And then you just swapped in another band. And I see nowadays so many bands, like 20 minutes before a gig are just being like, "Yeah, we're just not going to play. We're not going." And I'm like, I don't understand this. How is this happening?
It's just such a different mindset from when we were growing up. And yeah. I don't understand it. I don't understand. If you are playing in a band, you are committed to a certain sense of you're committed to learning a song. You're committed to learning how to play the instrument. You're committed to driving to the place. You're committed to, do all of these things. Why wouldn't you commit to promoting yourself and like taking it all the way? Why, this isn't about it. We don't need to cater to you. You need to fight for what you want.
Right.
Do you want this? I mean,
we're hoping to lead by example, because if we're doing this for you, that doesn't mean we want you to sit on your ass and not do anything. Yeah. We're showing you this is how it's done. This is how it should be done. You need to get out. You need to flyer. And I know flyer sounds old school, but now they're doing it again.
Yeah, hint, because vinyl's coming back too.
We've always done it. You need to get on social media. When we, as Hate Machine, started doing this again, I said it's so frustrating, because we would put out a post, and even with COC, I see it. I put out all these posts and all these videos and everything, and I'm lucky if I see 1 or 2 bands that will share it, or 1 or 2 bands will copy something and put it on their social media. And I'm so thankful when I see that. But I'm like, well, is it so hard to share one thing? I mean, in a time where, again, you go back years when we did it, we were taking other bands' flyers from clubs that we knew and liked, and we were going to Kinko's and running off 100 copies of them and flyering for them, because community was so strong. And there's no community anymore. So we're trying to bring that back. And
which is awesome. Yeah, which is awesome. And that's, I think, one of the first things that we connected on was, like, to be honest, it took me a while to understand that. And like the first chunk of my playing in bands and whatever you want to call that, musical career or whatever, was expecting, like, all right, well, if the music's good enough, people will find it and they'll enjoy it, and then it just builds up from there. It's like, no, not even close. Yeah, even if you are incredibly talented, some of that just might go over people's heads, or then it never gets in front of them in the first place. So you have to promoting and that kind of thing is just as important as the music making part. And I think that turns some musicians off, or there's a whole bunch of things there too. I think maybe some fear of success. People fall into that trap, once things start moving, they kind of get
terrible to be successful.
What's that?
I said, wouldn't that just be terrible to be successful at something you love to do?
What problem?
Well, we're living in the me society too, where You put your music out and you want people to hear it. And they'll maybe listen for a split second, and then they're like, well, what about my music? Oh, here's my music. Well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And then while they're telling you what they're doing, somebody over here is saying, yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, but I'm doing this. Everybody wants you to hear what they're doing. So we decided, I was talking to Johnny B, right? Because we went to Swamp Studios, and I love that guy. I absolutely love him. We were talking about some different things, and he gave me some of the best advice that I've ever gotten, and I'm going to take him up on some of it, because he said to me at one point, you need to start doing this certain thing, which I have a real hard time. I have a real hard time with owing people something, right? Because I don't like I have no bills, because I don't want to owe people money. I don't want to owe people anything. So if I give you something, I give it to you because I like you, or because you've done something for me, or because I want to back you up in what you're doing, because I really like what you're doing. I don't give you something because I want something in return. Yeah. So he said something to me, and he said, it's time you get something in return. And I was like, look, I don't want COC. We don't make money. I lose money every year on it. I don't care. I don't want to get paid. I said, I want to get to a point where I can pay the bands. That's my goal with this. And he's like, yeah, but you need to get paid too. I said, I don't care about getting paid. I said, if I can break even at some point, that'd be great. He's like, no. You need to start thinking about you. And I get that. And Rosie's telling me that all the time. And to a certain extent, he's 100% right. And I think everybody thinks me so much that they forget about other people. So I start thinking about other people. So we did COC for everybody else. We get involved with people like Reese and, other small local businesses, because we can work in trade. Because when we do something great and we take that next step, they come with us automatically. Doesn't matter if now we have access to bigger and better things in that same category. It doesn't matter. I'm taking them with me because they were there in the beginning. And if they take that step up, I expect they're going to take us with them, because it's more important to me, that camaraderie and that community is what's more important to me than, I'm going to latch on to this one because I know someday they're going to be huge. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I want to be, I'm getting older. I don't have a whole lot of time left on this earth. I want to do what I like while I'm here, and I want to help whoever I can do, or whoever I can help in the meantime while I'm doing it.
That's what makes it happen. Yeah. Idle Existence says, right on, Dave. So, yeah. And Zweiffel.jpg, thank you for joining. We had him on with Edgar Gore last week. They were awesome. Yeah, you can go check that out. We'll be releasing live streams too up on YouTube, so we'll put all the stuff out before COC3 begins. Man, you hit on so much stuff there. I just want to go back really quick. You talked about your getting out of your comfort zone. Is there things that you do to personally get out of your comfort zone?
I'm out of my comfort zone every day of my life. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not Rose could probably tell you better than me. I'm not a very outgoing person, and you wouldn't know it by talking to me, because when I talk to people about something that I'm passionate about, I find myself just rambling like I've known you forever. But like, I won't stop and talk to people on the street. It's hard for me to go to concerts and shows and things like that. And she'll tell you, because when we first started going out, I wouldn't go to concerts with her. I wouldn't. There's a lot of things for me that are I can't do that. I struggle a lot with depression, and I struggle a lot with self-worth, things that everybody struggles with. So for me, every day, I think I'm out of my comfort zone every day, because every day I have to get up and decide, especially at COC time, and she yells at me all the time. Johnny B said something to me about it, because I said, well, I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve to have these bands. I don't deserve to have Brutality. I don't deserve to have John. I don't deserve to have any of these bands, because I'm just a guy that's trying to put together a show to let these bands show people what they do. And, they tell me that's absolutely not true. And then I have to sit down and think, well, I've got 30 plus years in the music business doing this. And I've done a lot of things that a lot of people haven't done. And I have to remember that because I tend to forget and sell myself short a lot. So I'm out of my comfort zone all the time. It just may not always seem like it.
You are, I feel like you're like doing a me checklist because I'm right there with you on half this stuff. I feel like I can be outgoing when I have to be. And you kind of it takes a lot of energy. Like some people get energy when they're around people and they're very people oriented. I feel like it's kind of the opposite for me, where it's like kind of draining. Oh, are you Rosie? Well, that's why you're a good match. Yeah. How about you, Rosie? What do you do to get out of your comfort zone when it comes to being creative?
Well, that would indicate that I'm never not in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some things that make me uncomfortable, which I tend to shy away from. But then I remind myself of all the things I do, and I have no reason to be, shying away from anything. So I just kind of remind myself and push forward with a big smile on my face. And I mean, I tend to engage with a lot of people, and drives him crazy. I will talk. I don't care who. Like you're next to me at a concert. Hey,
I see.
What's your favorite song? My name's Rosie. And just talk and talk and talk. Next thing you know, I got a new friend, and or we go somewhere and we run into somebody that I know. Like
that was the joke when we first started going out. Everywhere, even my kids were like, "Dad, everywhere we go, she knows somebody." I'm like, oh, I know. You deal with this.
Because I go out. I engage with the community that I'm in and my surroundings. And I've always believed that life is for the living, and I try to take advantage of everything I possibly can. It might be my ADHD, but one day I'm into one thing, and then I find something else and I hyper focus on, and then I find something else and I hyper focus on, and I find something else. And you just kind of take all of that, and it's like, well, I did this and I did that and I did this and I did, and I'm building just a very colorful collection of memories and experiences. And I don't want to sit at home. There's stuff out there. The world is out there, and you need to experience these things, and you're not going to experience them just sitting. You got to get out.
She makes a good point because, and I say to her all the time, I'm incredibly jealous of her because you've been to our place, you've seen all the concert stuff on the walls, and she has bins and bins and bins of stuff that she hasn't put up yet. And she has all these photographs from family and stuff from when she was younger, and she has all this cool, great stuff from the past that she's done or she's been involved with her family or whatever. I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing. And the majority of that is because either I haven't spoken up, or I haven't, when I've been in these situations around people that I've wanted to ask for something or whatever, I can't do that. So I really am jealous of her because she has all this, to me, with great stuff, and it's just a piece of paper or a ticket or whatever, but it's, I don't know, she has memories that I don't necessarily have, which I'm very jealous of.
It's what those things represent. Actually,
I
was going to say,
they're my memories.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really all that you'll ever have. Dave, it's funny because I was going to say, I didn't want to say jealous because I was like, that might come off a little like strong, but I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, I'm jealous of people like that who are just naturally like gregarious and just go make friends left and right. I'm much more of like, I'll sit inside the house and like play guitar all day or try to express myself that way and then share that with people rather than trying to learn to be more like that. So Angel says the two of you are cut from the same cloth. Yeah, I see a lot of similarities there for sure. And Jay Wen, thank you for joining. You got questions for Rosie or Dave, you can pop them down in the comments and we'll get to them. All right, so talk a little bit about I don't know, there's a couple different ways we can go. Let's stay on COC a little bit. So like the first two Carnival of Chaos, how did you kind of materialize those things? And you really kind of hit me when you say you don't feel like you deserve stuff. I know that feeling, but it's like you put all this, like I haven't known you for very long at all, but you've put so much positive community-based vibes out there. Like how do you expect that not to come back to you? That's just the way it works. So can you just talk a little bit about like maybe the beginnings of Carnival of Chaos and like where was was it always at the fire hall?
No. It was we kind of threw the first one together. It came about. It's kind of interesting because it all kind of started because I think I put a post out or something that we were looking for a photographer. I was trying to get my guitars, good pictures of my guitars shot with models. And Reese came back to me and said, hey, I can do that for you. And I can provide the models and we can do the trade for service thing. And she seemed real interested in working with us. And of course we were super interested in working with her. And that we just meshed. And I absolutely adore her and everything she does. It just was a match made in heaven. So that's kind of where it started. So we went down to Lebanon to Scott Church's studio, and we walked into, I'll never forget it, we walked into an open photo shoot, and she met us at the door, and she said, you won't be offended if there's naked chicks running around, right? And I was like, nope. We brought our guitars in, and they were having this big open photo shoot, and Scott was wonderful. He introduced us to everybody, and I thought we were just going to have her take pictures of a couple of our guitars with a couple models. And it turned into that all these photographers were like, oh, I want that guitar with this girl. And it was great. So,
yes, Scott encouraged all the photographers there. Listen, we've got all these guitars. Come talk to them, come use them, great opportunity to have them here for today and, take advantage of it.
And they treated us like we were somebody. And I'm just some schlub who, I just work on guitars. That's all. But it was wonderful. And then they had the downstairs area, which had this little stage. And Reese and I got to talking, and I said, you should have music here. She says, well, we do open mic nights once in a while. And I said, should have bands. I said, why don't let me put together something and put a couple bands on this stage, and we could try it. And she said, well, okay. And I threw together a couple of bands. I called one of our endorsed guys from New York, and I said, hey, he was in two bands. I said, can you guys interested in doing this? And he's like, yeah. So they came down, and we ended up putting together a metal show. And Reese and I were talking, and she's like, well, you should come up with a name for it or something. And we were throwing stuff back and forth, and I came back with Carnival of Chaos. And Reese says, oh, I love it. So I said, okay, well, that's what we're going to call it. And it just basically was a metal show. And I said, well, I want it to be all bands that are local or, relatively local, small, unsigned, and I want them to be original music. And that's what we did. And then that kind of sparked, hey, this is something. I got to do this, and I got to do it bigger, and I got to do it better. And we got to get vendors involved, and we got to get this involved, and we got to get that involved. And we were somewhat limited there because we couldn't do food trucks, and the alcohol thing was different there. But the venue was great, and they were so welcoming to us. So what we started doing was we did it as a benefit for them, and whatever was made, was put back into, the sound system or whatever. So then the first year went off pretty well, considering we didn't really know what we were doing, and we just kind of threw it together. And then I said to her, well, I guess we got to do this again. And she's like,
I guess so.
Okay. So we planned the second one. We actually planned a little better.
Yeah.
And we, I'll never forget, Aiden, who's one of our other endorsed guys, came back and we had his band headline, Relapsed, and we got Brutality for the second one. And they came in and Aiden walked in. Aiden was at the first one too, because Relapse played the first one, and then they came back and they headlined the second one. He walked into the second one. He looked around. He went, "Holy crap!" And then he said something that'll stick with me forever that I can't tell you because it was a little graphic, but he said something to the effect that if you showed up with a certain part of your body swinging this time, you're not screwing around. And I said, well, look, I went bigger. And so we did that one, and of course Brutality, and they were phenomenal. And I right then and there I said to Rose, well, they got to come back and headline. I can't live without them at this point because I just fell in love with them. So we started planning for the third one, and I said, well, I gotta go bigger and better. And then the church kind of shut down their music thing in Lebanon, so I said, we got to do it here. And we went and we looked at this venue in Schnecksville, and
at first Dave was like, "There's no way.
Yeah,
there's no way we can't do this."
Why is that?
And I went, "Why not?"
Yeah, I said actually not, because the building is 3 times the size easily. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this. We had trouble with COC2 with we planned it and everything, and because her and I are the only 2 that run it. I mean, we're the only 2 that do everything. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have to pay for the venue and all that stuff for the first 2. Now all this is on my dime. So I said, well, I don't know that we can do this. And she's like, yeah, we can. So I looked at the building, and I don't know. Okay, so the people came in and we walked the building and looked it over, and I looked at the stage and I said, oh, the stage is 23 feet long. The stage at the church was like 10 foot. So I'm like, shit, this is awesome. Okay, well, all right, we're gonna do this. And then I walked outside, and I walked outside while Rose and the lady were still in the building talking, and I'm having this moment to myself where I'm like so much in self-doubt about everything, and there's no way I can make this work. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to work so much overtime just to afford this. And I look across the parking lot, and there's an outdoor stage. And I went, shit, 2 years. In 2 years, I'm going to have this building and that stage, and this is going to be phenomenal. And I had this vision of what I wanted in 2 years. And all that self-doubt went right out the window because now I had something to plan for. So Rose came out, and I said, okay, we're going to do this. And in 2 years, we're going to have that stage out there. And she went, wait, what? And I said, in 2 years, we're going to triple the size of this one. And we're going to be at both stages, and we're going to have more bands. And she said, well, okay. And then it was a couple of weeks later, we were talking to Johnny B, and Johnny B says, have you ever thought about doing 2 days? Ooh. Like doing one metal day and one blues day or something? And I went, I never thought about that.
Everything just is growing.
I can't afford that. So,
but that's a story for another time.
Yeah. So yeah, it progresses every year. Every year it gets bigger, and I say that because this year is by far the biggest and the most that we've put into it, the most that we've planned, and I have to top it for next year. So, which we're already planning for.
Yeah. Always great to have goals. I feel like one of the strongest forces in the universe is like a belief. So no matter what you believe, like good or bad, you can bring that into the world or upon yourself or whatever you want. And it's great. Yeah. It's great to have people around you who believe in you, because that is like when you're having those self-doubt moments, you can just turn to them and they're like, no, just push through it. You'll be through it in a minute, and yeah, just go on like that. Just really quick, Ro Bison, thank you so much for joining. He runs Radio 717, and you can listen to the Morning Shuffle at 7:30 every morning on YouTube and Facebook, and also on the weekends he has a whole 3-hour band and promotion thing happening. I think it's like 11 or so on Saturday, so thank you for joining. Yeah, all right, cool. What else do I have for you here? Let's see. So you put all this work in. You're never gonna play, like, Hate Machine will never play a Carnival of Chaos? Is that something that'll never happen?
Nope.
And why is
I
that?
can't. You can't combine it.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not right. And I said from the beginning I didn't want to do.
We're not going to host. He's not going to host his own show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. But I still can wear my own T-shirt, right?
Oh, listen, we talked about this when you first came over, and you said, "How do you feel about wearing a T-shirt?" And I told you, if you don't promote yourself, who's going to?
Yeah.
Look at COC2 T-shirt.
Nice.
You've got to promote yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Wear your own T-shirt. Put your own banner up. Wear your own logo on everything. I got my own logo on underwear.
Yeah, and I always like too, like your guitars. Oh, that's the other question I want to ask you. All your guitars have, the name Hate Machine on it, or the website on it, or all that cool stuff. So, talk a little bit about your number one guitar, because that was kind of a special one when we were there and got to see it.
Yeah, that's I've had that since I got that for Christmas. Actually, I was raised by my mom and my grandmother, and my mom worked really hard, multiple jobs, because my dad wasn't around, and so I wanted a good guitar. I've had cheaper guitars or whatever, and I was in a band, had my band, and I was getting more serious, and I wanted a decent guitar. So she went up to West End Music in Allentown, which now I do all their, and she bought this guitar. She went into the owner, Dave, at the time, who was, I don't even know if he's even around anymore, but he's not the owner anymore, and told him what I played and whatnot. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I know him," because I was hanging out there every weekend, and got me this guitar. And it's a JB player, which they got a little bit big for a while, but they were kind of built to be, I think they at one point wanted to be like the lower end of Jackson. They were Jackson built player, and Jackson picked them up or whatever. But I just absolutely love the guitar. It's the best guitar I've ever had. It plays like nothing else, and I've had it since I was, I don't know, high school. And it's one of two guitars that have never left. And I have a third one that left for a while, but I got back. So I have 3 guitars from that era that have really never left. But this is the guitar. This is the black Gus G shape, the star shape.
Yeah.
First guitar I ever saw him play.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah.
The only guitar I ever played for the longest time.
I was gonna say, you're pretty much a one guitar guy. I mean, you have a ton. That's what I mean. It's weird that
just one.
No, I'm definitely not a one guitar guy. But I have, like, when Hate Machine plays, there's certain guitars, and like you said, they're all branded because I put my logo on everything. So if I'm playing a guitar on stage, it'll say Hate Machine on it, or it'll have something, a tagline from one of our songs or something on it. So I have a handful of guitars that I use for Hate Machine, and that's it. But that's only because I try, like, there's been a couple times where I play my guitars, my own built guitars, Chaos guitars, but I try very hard not to crisscross the two entities, because it just, I don't know, it almost feels tacky to me. it's like, I get both ends of it, because I'll have people say, well, you don't play your own stuff. Well, I do play my own stuff. I play it a lot because I built it really for me. I didn't build the Havoc series were built because I wanted them, not because I wanted to build them for anybody else. But I feel like Chaos guitars, I almost feel like, well, it's like me saying, well, I'm endorsing myself, and that's kind of tacky. So I endorse others, I don't endorse myself.
Yeah.
Oh, makes sense.
That's the other side of the t-shirt argument I hear all the time too, from like, we'll talk about it as a band all the time. Like, no, I don't think we should do that. We shouldn't be on stage with our own stuff. Now, I do think there's like a level, like if you're at a big level, maybe that comes into play, but I don't know. I just...
What's the difference if you go to see a show and the band's name is big and bold behind them? What's the difference?
About having it on your shirt?
Yeah.
I guess nothing really. I mean, what I was...
Listen, if we can have Chaos on a coffee mug.
I told you.
Yeah.
No.
Just what companies you use and all that stuff, because you have it on everything. That's great.
Everything. I think the next thing is custom toilet paper.
I've had a couple people tell me that I'm the Gene Simmons of Chaos guitars, because I literally put my logo on anything.
Yeah. Well, he's doing pretty well, you know.
If nothing less, we're trying to make it very easy for everybody to find it.
Yes.
Of course, yeah. Lehigh Valley 75, thank you for joining, and Gem Pitcher 08, thank you for joining. Ro Bison says, oh my God, I gotta get glasses here. Can you guys read that?
Yeah, here's my glasses on my head.
I'm still in refusal mode, you know. I just like refuse to go get. Then look at that. Oh, he'd wipe his ass with Hate Machine TP. So there you go. Gotta send that out. Is that where you're, like, customizing guitars came from too? Like, you got this guitar, that's your number one. How did you customize it a lot, or has it just kind of been that way since you bought it?
The funny thing is, I didn't really do much to that until later. But the customizing guitars came from because I could never afford good stuff when I was younger.
Yeah. And
I would buy what I could afford, and then I would change it to the way I wanted it. I would, do whatever. I would put different pickups in it, or I would do whatever I do. I did the scallop fretboard and things like that. And then I would have the guys, like in Texas and stuff, I would have the guys that had the good equipment coming to me. Like, I remember for one of them was the Kill Switch. Before the Kill Switch was big, I had guys coming to me saying, well, where'd you get that? Well, I just did it. Well, what do you mean you did it? And it kind of snowballed from there. And then all of a sudden they're bringing me these $1,000 guitars, which at the time that was a huge amount of money for a guitar. Still is, if you ask me.
Still is, definitely.
And they're saying, well, can you do that to mine? And I'm thinking, well, I was only doing this because I couldn't afford yours. But it just kind of went from there, and that's where it all started.
Very cool. Mr. Bungles Vinyl, thank you for joining. That's one of the reasons I only recently got into pedals, because I couldn't afford them growing up. Like, I could barely afford a bass and a small amp. I could barely get over a drum set. I forget about like a pedal board and all that stuff. Yeah. So it's only been like recently where I've kind of started delving into that as well. Do you have like a favorite mod or customization that you do? Like you do to most of your guitars?
I do. I think probably the one I do the most, and it's simple and it's stupid, but because I play, heavy metal, thrash metal, you know how we play. You put it up to 10, yep, and you use your bridge pickup, and that's about it. So what I do is I have a mod that I do that just bypasses everything. So you flip the switch, and it takes all your electronics out of it, and it just runs your pickup hot right to the output. So it takes
cool.
It takes any little bit of resistance in that circuit completely out. So you're just running as hot a pickup as you can possibly get, and it's great for if you're playing a song that you don't have to worry about it, adjusting or tone or anything like that. If you just want out heavy thrash metal, it's wonderful for that.
On 11 at all times, yeah. The Roe Bison, the Roe Bison says $1,000 is the limit for any guitar. Yeah, it's tough nowadays. I feel like there's a lot of weird stuff going on too with like everything is CNC now, so they can just send it off to wherever and they can CNC it for way cheaper.
Yep.
And that's the difference though too, because the Havoc series that we've done, they are not CNC'd.
No, they are.
Yeah. The body,
well, the initial shape of the body is CNC, but all the points,
the customization is all hand done by.
That's I don't do your basic body shape. Pretty much everywhere now is CNC machine. There's not many guys cutting it out of a chunk of wood anymore because I used to too, and then route to pick up cavities and all that. But to do all that, I'd have to charge you $1 million for a guitar because time involved. I think we're at like $65 an hour. Mm-hmm. So if I charge you shop time, and then we even came up with a labor rate per day because I had to knock that down. Yeah. Because if I got a job that's 3 hours, I got to figure out a way to knock that $65 an hour down a little bit because I don't want to ream people. Yeah. So if I was doing it out of a block of wood, I mean, every once in a while I may do one for myself because it's cool and it's an art, but everything is CNC machined anymore. So what I do is I will get the body and then I do like the Havoc series has the cuts put into the horns and things like that. So
yeah, that was super cool. And actually Ben Cologne just commented, I love the headstock. They look like fly guitars, Parker flies, but thicker. Yeah, is that kind of, you get some influence from that at all, or is it just what's the story behind the headstock?
Story behind that is kind of silly, actually. I wanted something that I was going to be able to look from behind and see the strings.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's really all it was. So I came up with what looked to be a cool design and doing the heavy metal thing, something pointy, and that's kind of where it came from. And then after the fact, I saw there's one or two other ones that are similar. So it wasn't really taken from anything other than the key to it was that I wanted something that was you were going to be able to see the strings through the back.
Yeah, it's a cool look for sure. Let's see. Well, that takes us to about an hour right there. Do you just want to plug everything one more time where everyone can find you and, of course, what's going to be happening on August 12th?
Sure.
And we'll sign off.
So you can find us pretty much everywhere at Chaos Guitars with the exception of Instagram, which is at Chaos Guitars Official. Our website, chaosguitars.com. You can get more information on COC3 at chaosguitars.com/COC3. Carnival of Chaos 3, go to Facebook and check out the event and click on the event and let us know whether you're interested or going. Even if you're just interested, click interested because we're trying to get the numbers up so that Facebook will run it more often, especially considering they just pulled my ad.
That's working. I want to talk to you about that too. We can do that off the stream, but yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's a really great thing. Even if you're just considering going, please just mark yourself as interested because that does help so much. And that's what really the algorithms are looking for. Yeah. So yeah, that's a big help. All right. Yeah, well, Dave and Rose, thank you so much for jumping on here with me. And obviously we're looking forward to seeing everyone and playing August 12th in Schnecksville. So yeah, next week I think we have more COC bands coming up. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll post this up soon. We can share it on YouTube and Facebook.
Great.
All right, have a good night, guys. Thank you so much. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.